These are 4 country music videos Nashville tried to bury in the 1990s, and the one that finally broke the gatekeepers' grip on the entire genre, eventually winning CMA Video of the Year in the process. For most of country music's history, the industry's unwritten rule was simple: don't show what makes people uncomfortable. And in a 4-year stretch from 1991 to 1994, 4 artists broke that rule on national television. The system never recovered. To understand why these videos mattered, you have to understand what country music videos looked like before them. By the late 1980s, CMT and TNN had quietly become the 2 most powerful gatekeepers in the genre. They controlled what songs broke nationally, they controlled what artists became stars, and most importantly, they controlled what country music was allowed to be about. The visual rules were ironclad. Country videos were performance clips: a singer on a bar stool, a band on a flatbed truck, a pretty girl in a sundress on a porch. Heartbreak was acceptable. Drinking was acceptable. Cheating was acceptable, vaguely. But anything darker, anything like addiction, violence, abuse, or real social conflict, got filed under Not Country and quietly killed before it ever reached a satellite dish. That was the system in April of 1991, when a 29-year-old from Oklahoma submitted a music video that would force the entire industry to make a choice it had been avoiding for decades. Garth Brooks had already had hits. Friends in Low Places had gone supernova the year before, and his second album, No Fences, released on Capitol Nashville, was outselling almost everything in country music. But the song he chose as his next single was something different. The Thunder Rolls was not a drinking song or a love song. It was a story about a wife who comes home to find her husband cheating, and the night ends with her pointing a gun at him. The song had been recorded first by Tanya Tucker back in 1988, but it was Brooks and co-writer Pat Alger's version of the 3rd verse that made the video possible and made it impossible to ignore. The song itself on country radio was already a stretch. The video took it further. Brooks himself played both the husband and a darker fictionalized version of the same man. The 3rd verse, which was often left off radio edits, made the violence explicit. It ended with the wife pulling the trigger. CMT and TNN watched it once and pulled from rotation. The network said the video was too dark for country. They said the imagery of domestic abuse and on-screen retaliation would alienate the genre's family audience. They asked Brooks to recut a softer version that left out the 3rd verse and the gun. Brooks refused. What he did instead reshaped how country music videos worked forever after. He told CMT and TNN that if they wanted to play the video, they had to play the full version, and they had to attach a domestic violence PSA at the end with a hotline number. He made it impossible to bury the video without looking like the network was burying a public service message. 6 days after TNN banned it, VH1 started playing the Thunder Rolls, and that put immediate pressure on both country networks and made the ban impossible to sustain quietly. CMT eventually relented. By the end of 1991, the video had been nominated for CMA Music Video of the Year. Brooks didn't just survive the ban, he weaponized it, and he proved something the system did not want to admit. When a country artist was big enough, the gatekeepers would lose. The next test came from a much less expected place. Holly Dunn was one of the most respected female voices in country music in the late 1980s. She wrote much of her own material. She had a clean public image, and she was the kind of artist Nashville's establishment liked because she didn't push. Her 1991 single, Maybe I Mean Yes, was meant to be empowering. It was written as a flirtation song from a woman's point of view, about playful pursuit, mixed signals, and romance. But the title alone was enough to set off alarms. Women's advocacy groups, including organizations focused on sexual assault prevention, read the title as endorsing one of the most damaging myths in their work, that when a woman says no, she secretly means yes. They demanded radio stations pull the song, and they demanded CMT pull the video. The backlash was immediate, and it was well organized. What happened next was unusual. Holly Dunn herself agreed with them. She publicly asked radio stations to stop playing the song. The video came down. She told the press the lyrics could be misread in ways she had never intended, and she did not want her work to give cover to anyone who would use it that way. The episode taught Nashville something important. The first instinct from inside the genre had been to defend the song and defend the artist. The system assumed the controversy would blow over. Instead, the artist took the controversy seriously and pulled her own work. It set a precedent that country music could no longer treat every piece of criticism as overreach. Sometimes the critics were right. Garth Brooks came back the next year with a song that managed to upset country radio for an entirely different reason. We Shall Be Free was released in 1992 in the wake of the Los Angeles riots. The lyrics were a list of social hopes, peace, tolerance, and an end to hunger. The music video extended that vision visually. It included footage of mixed-race couples, same-sex couples, civil rights imagery, and a global montage that put country music in conversation with the rest of the world. Country radio, much of it, refused to play the song. There was no organized boycott, no press release, no PSA fight to win. Stations across the South simply did not add the single, and program directors quietly declined to discuss why. The video got even less airplay than the song. CMT played it sparingly in low-rotation slots and never pushed it as a flagship release. The song peaked at number 12. That was a stunning failure for an artist who had hit number 1 with nearly everything else he released. Brooks himself has spoken about it as one of his most personal songs and one of his least commercially supported. What We Shall Be Free exposed was something the Thunder Rolls battle had hinted at, but not proven. Country radio's gatekeepers weren't just enforcing rules about violence or sexuality. They were enforcing rules about who country music was allowed to be for. A video featuring same-sex couples and mixed-race couples was, in 1992, a political statement to that audience. And the gatekeepers chose silence. It was a quieter band than the Thunder Rolls. It was also, in some ways, a more revealing one. By 1993, the gatekeepers had spent 3 years trying to hold the line. Then a 27-year-old singer from West Virginia named Martina McBride, signed to RCA Records, released a song called Independence Day. The song, written by Gretchen Peters, told a story from the perspective of a young girl whose mother kills her abusive husband by setting their house on fire on the 4th of July. The girl is sent to a county home. The mother dies in the fire. The chorus frames the act as a kind of liberation, and the title doubles as both a national holiday and an escape from violence. The video made all of it explicit. There were domestic violence scenes, there were flames, there was a child taken from her home. A number of country stations refused to add the single. Several CMT affiliates limited the video's rotation. Some markets pulled it entirely. The early consensus inside Nashville was that it would be another quiet death, a song too dark, too political, too uncomfortable for mainstream country. That is not what happened. McBride and her label refused to back down. They worked the song aggressively. Domestic violence advocacy groups embraced it, and in 1994, the same industry that had tried to bury the song handed it the CMA Music Video of the Year award. That was the moment the math changed. The Thunder Rolls had proven a single megastar could break the gatekeepers. Maybe I Mean Yes had proven an artist could agree with her own critics. We Shall Be Free had proven the gatekeepers would still win the quiet fights, but Independence Day proved something none of those had proven. An artist who was not yet a superstar could take on a dark subject, get banned in markets across the country, and still be crowned by the same industry that tried to silence her. After 1994, the rule changed. Country music could now go to those places, and the audience would follow. The 4 videos that almost didn't air rewrote what country music could be about for the next 30 years. Without the Thunder Rolls, you don't get the Dixie Chicks song Goodbye Earl from 1999, written by Dennis Lindy. That is a song about murdering an abuser with poisoned black-eyed peas, set to a music video that plays the whole thing as comedy. Without Independence Day, you don't get Carrie Underwood's Before He Cheats from 2005. There is no Miranda Lambert catalog of women with guns ballads. And Hardy's 2022 hit Wait in the Truck, 4 minutes inside a vigilante story about an abusive boyfriend and a country boy with a shotgun, never gets greenlit. That entire lineage runs back to a fight that started in 1991 with a video CMT did not want to play. The bands also taught Nashville that controversy had a ceiling and a floor. Holly Dunn's experience proved an artist could agree with the critics, take the loss, and keep her career. Garth Brooks proved a megastar could refuse and still win. Martina McBride proved an emerging artist could refuse, lose markets, and come out the other side with a CMA trophy. Only We Shall Be Free lost outright. And the reason it lost was the only reason that did not change in the decades that followed. Country radio's quiet bans on songs about race, gender, and politics did not disappear in 1994. The gatekeepers just got better at being quiet. But the loud bands, the ones about violence, about abuse, about the dark interior of country lives, those were over. The videos the industry tried to bury became the foundation of country music's modern emotional vocabulary. The bands didn't protect the genre, they forced it to grow up. And the artists who refused to recut, refused to soften, and refused to disappear when the gatekeepers came calling, those are the artists who built the country music that still gets made today. 4 videos, 4 bands, 1 trophy, one genre that came out the other side telling stories it would never have told otherwise.